So the rigs and techniques here at the bench, you know, Dave, every week we talk about some kind of technique, and you got lots of stuff to talk about.
Yes, I do. You know, we're going to talk about wade fishing. It was some of the first fishing I ever did in saltwater, you know, because it took me a little while to get some scratch up for a boat. So I did a lot of walking, and I walked many a mile, you know, casting and walking and casting and walking, trying to catch trout and redfish on some, you know, really nice flats. You'd find a nice hard bottom flat with some good grass on it, some potholes. You know, a little bit of bait working on it. It's a good place to just jump out of the truck and wade right in and go try to catch them. Now, you know, making a long cast is very important. A lot of times we'd go fishing at night and get us a bunch of crabs. We'd go red fishing, you know, we call them channel bass. And, you know, instead of wading 100 yards out into the bay at night, you know, with all the stingrays and bull sharks and whatnot, you know, we'd, you know, bring out a big ladder and stand on the ladder and make long casts out and try to catch some of those big reds that are cruising the flats at night on a big crab or a live croaker or something like that. And at the time, I'd really like to...
Is it safe to say that anytime you're foot fishing, casting, the farther you can cast, the more ground you're covering?
Right. And if you know, if you're in a place where you want to, you know, you don't want to walk all that way, you know, you can also make a long cast to keep you from walking, you know. So I'd love to have had one of these Alvies back then, you know, one of these side casters, because I can easily cast with this 20-pound braid, which is hard to break. You know, 20-pound braid's hard to break. I can cast that 100 yards easy with a 1 ounce weight and a 2 or 3 ounce croaker on it. Like, you get a little rig like this here, a fish finder rig, you know, with a nice Circle C hook on it. I think that's a 5/0.
Right.
And, you know, you can put you a nice croaker on there, a big chunk of mullet head, just about any kind of bait, even a live bait, and toss that out 100 yards and stake up. You know, if you can either hold it. The good thing about the Alvy is they have that little short handle.
Right.
So you can hold on to them. You know, you don't have this long handle between you and the rod. You can stand there and hold it, and these stealths are really, really light. They're made out of carbon fiber, so you don't even feel them.
The rod, those big, long rods,
yeah,
and
this
they
one
don't
here
weigh
too.
anything.
Yeah, this is one of the new stealth rods, and it's 13 feet long, and it weighs nothing. You know, and when you put that carbon fiber reel on it, you can stand there and hold that all day. And that's, you know, that's what those Australian guys do. They wade in the surf back and forth. They walk with these things.
Right.
And that's why they don't have those long handles on them. And yet, you know, you can really get a good...
and so this is in case you don't want to sit there and hold it, right, Dave?
Yeah, you can get out there a good ways, put one of those, you know, tall, that's like 50-inch spike. You can, you know, get you a 3-pound hammer and hammer that thing into the ground and you know,
stick the butt end of the Alvy in
exactly. There. And then that thing's way up high too, so you can get a long stretch on that.
So what are some of the other things that you got here? You got lures?
Yeah, well, you know, if you're not into, you know, making those long casts with the Alvies, if you're a more traditional guy and want to use a bait caster or a spinning reel, I always suggest you get you a nice pair of boots.
Right.
I always used to use a pair of Converse tennis shoes because that's what I had. You can buy really cheap. Baby. Yeah, you can buy really cheap waders. You know, I wouldn't use a nice pair like that. I'd wear a pair out first, and then I'd use them.
I know your style.
And that, you know, make sure they're I like Converse because they have a lot of laces on them, and you can lace them on real tight, and you wouldn't leave your shoe. And if you're fishing in a place where it might be muddy, you know, you want to have a boot or a shoe that's going to stay on, because you don't want to leave one halfway across the flat.
What are some of your favorite lures to cover this ground?
Well, I like topwater lures, you know, any kind of topwater lure. These little Berkeley ones there are really nice. You know, anything that you can keep moving, because like you said, you're wanting to cover ground, and if you're working those things across the top of the water all the time, you're going to get bites and bites and bites. So
Gold Spoon, another good one to have in your box?
Yes, oh yeah, Gold Spoon is a really good lure to have. You know, put you a swivel on the front of it, you know, get you a little split ring and a little tiny diamond ball bearing swivel. They make little tiny ones that are 50-pound test, and it gives that spoon a great action and will never spin up your spinning reel or your bait casting line, because that's the big deal with spoons, is, you know, they like to spin and get your stuff all spinned up. I also like to use soft plastic baits, you know, saltwater assassins and stuff like that, and any kind of soft bait, anything that looks like a redfish, a little bait fish. So.
All right, so what do you think, Brie?
Well, I think if you're in the surf, Alvy Reels is where it's at. You got to get yourself one.